everybody, I am Liz, and today we are doing the ultimate 2019 wrap-up, as it is officially the year 2020. And so I will talk about the books I read in December, talk about some of my reading stats for the year of 2019. But first, we are going to announce the giveaway winner for my Merry Giftmas holiday giveaway video. So I was gonna be all high-tech and do a spreadsheet, but I don't really do spreadsheets. So instead I have the entries on these post-it notes. They're numbered, and I'm going to use the fantastic random number generator here on my phone to generate the lucky winner of this giveaway. And our lucky giveaway winner is Aiki Miko, number 13, if you can read that right there. So we have Aiki Miko. I will get in contact with this YouTube profile and get your $25 Amazon gift card to you ASAP. In order to make it easier for you to get your giveaway gift, just please edit your comment on my giveaway video with your email address so I can contact you via email to send you your gift card. Now, without further ado, let's get into the books and my reading stats of 2019. In December, I completed 3 books, so I'll do a really quick wrap up of those 3 stories. First, we have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. It has been my dream to read this book and also the series. Out of these 5 stories, I only read the first one, and I absolutely loved it. I felt like it was very true to what I remember watching of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie. And it left me nostalgic, but also really happy and pleased, and I laughed. And I just really had a great time reading the story. This definitely warrants a 5 out of 5. Next, I finished Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. This is book 2 in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This book continues to follow Audrey Rose's journey into becoming a forensic scientist. It goes into great depth with not just the historical elements and the mythology and history of Romania and the time period set in the late 1800s. I just really did enjoy the story, but I did have some issues that really distracted me, particularly, and I don't know if this was as evident in the first book, but Audrey Rose is obsessed with her gender in the sense where she's obsessed with other people looking down on her because she's a woman in a man's world. And though I understand these implications because of the time period and how she definitely has these things thrust upon her, it was just very repetitive and happened so often, her judging herself for her own gender, that I just was getting really frustrated. I also had a few word choice and sentence structure decisions that irked me a little bit, but it was still a great story and still worthy of a 4 out of 5 stars. The last book I finished was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. It follows 2 sisters, Donatella and Scarlett, who travel to the mysterious Caraval, which is an island where there's magic. For 5 nights, the game is played, and the winner of this game gets to earn a wish from legend. The owner of Caraval, the leader, the magician behind the curtain of Caraval. For the most part, I really did enjoy the story, the mythology, the reasoning, and the magic structure of this book. The first thing I absolutely adored about the story is the relationship between Scarlett and Tella. These sisters, they really got each other's backs, and they really do show just the perfect sisterhood. There were some negatives, particularly with the love interest. I was not a fan. I didn't think it was executed in a way that was believable. I didn't get the butterflies or the sparks from Scarlett and her love interest. There was also a couple description flaws in the story that distracted me, but like I said, overall I did enjoy the story apart from a few little quirks and kinks, and so I also give this a 4 out of 5. So there we have the 3 books I finished to end the year, and let's talk about my year in review. How did I fare? What was my favorite stories? What were my most commonly read genres? And all of that jazz. As for my stats, I finished 61 books in 2019. That was not my Goodreads goal by any means. I wanted to read 75. That did not happen. You guys know why I completely failed and bombed that reading challenge, reading goal. Now, out of those 61 books, 1 was a children's story, 3 were middle grade. We have a whopping 33, the majority being young adult, and then we have 24 adult stories. My most read genre last year was fantasy, and that's not surprising because usually that is my most read genre, and I read a total of 21 fantasy stories. However, all the other stories are usually way back, not even close to the amount of books I've read in fantasy. This year, I read a staggering amount of science fiction. We have 16 total science fiction, and as for contemporary, we have 12. So I read a really good amount of contemporary and science fiction, whereas I know last year my statistics were much, much lower. I also read 4 historical fiction, 3 mystery adventure stories, 3 graphic novels or comics, and we have 4 nonfiction stories. Out of these, I rudimentarily scribbled out LGBT books, which I've read 8 of them, and own voice stories, roughly 21 if I did the math correctly. Those are some pretty good statistics. Then obviously we have my favorite part of reviewing the year, which is talking about my favorite books, but we'll break the ice a little bit by talking about my least favorite first. I usually talk about my 5 least favorite books, but that's only 4 this year because there was only 4 stories that got 2 stars or less for the whole year of 2019. That was The Female Man by Joanna Russ, The Alexander Cipher by Will Adams, The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and The Draco Tavern by Larry Niven. I feel like out of a whole year of reading, only having 4 out of 61 books that got a 2-star or less is pretty freaking amazing. Now for my favorite books, these all got 5 stars. I was pretty impressed by all the 5-star ratings I gave out last year. I gave roughly 17 5-star ratings out of the 61 books, which is phenomenal. But let's talk about my top 5, my favorite books of 2019. Now for these top 5 books, they're not in any particular order. Book 5 is no more important than book 1 on this list. They're just my favorite overall, and they're equally my favorite. I absolutely loved all 5 of these books, and definitely all 17 of these 5 out of 5 stars. First up is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is a fantastic memoir and really just conclusion to Paul Kalanithi's life as he's diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Next we have Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. This book was just so good. I felt like it was very true to expressing rape culture, victim blaming so well. Then we have The Help by Catherine Stockett. This is a historical fiction story of a girl who wants to write about the help, other known as those that are serving white families, they're African American, in the South. It was just so heartfelt. I loved the movie when it was released years ago, and reading this book just made it so much better. Then we have Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. I binge read this on the plane home from Scotland. It was such a tear-jerking story, but it was also a story that doesn't get a lot of attention. It talks about the Soviet conquest throughout smaller regions to form the Soviet Union, like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and it was just so intense, and it really piqued my history buff interest to learn more about these stories and everything beyond what this book talks about, to really get the facts and the truths and the devastation that these families faced. Last but certainly not least is Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro and Cornelia Funke. I absolutely adored this book. It retells the movie by the same name, created by Guillermo del Toro years ago, into a fantastic story that you can read, and it dives more into the mythology and the stories that aren't told in the movie that made me just complete. It made me so happy to read the story and really dive more into this dark and twisted fairy tale. Alright, so there we have my 2019 year in review. I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching. I hope you would like to stick around on my channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. Let's start up a conversation. How did your 2019 go? What was your favorite thing that you experienced in 2019? Please let me know in the comments, and let's start up a conversation. So until next time, remember that I love you. Bye!